So, what words come to mind when you hear knife crime?
Gangs. Gang culture.
Violence.
Murder. Violent.
Danger.
Cowards.
Murder.
Protection.
Gangs.
Violence.
My uncle, I think it was 2011, he actually passed away from knife crime. A man stabbed him in the back.
There was that time outside Pub World in Solihull where that boy got stabbed.
I know there was one in Solihull when this guy was running around with a machete. I remember that. That was quite recent.
You hear more about it online and in social media than you do actually at school.
It was like one-off assemblies for like an hour, 2 hours most.
Where I attended secondary school was quite high for people carrying knives, so we were taught quite a lot about it.
I don't think I've really been taught about how to defend myself. I've been taught about, don't hang around with the wrong crowd. That's been mentioned many times.
Stay away from people. If you ever see someone with a knife, just stay away from them. Don't carry around a knife yourself.
If it's someone trying to rob you, just hand over your stuff. Don't risk your life to save an object.
When it happens in our local area and I'm going out and mum's like, oh, there was something on the news about a stabbing, I don't want you to go there, don't do that, don't go anywhere, stay with your friends. It's always brought up, especially when it's in the news in our Birmingham in the city centre, because it happens so regularly.
I happen to be one of the toughest areas of England at that time, which was East London. When I did join the gang, I knew one thing, that my parents were never going to get, our house was never going to get robbed. My dad's car was never going to get stolen again, because I was part of the gang and I knew we were safe. But there was something there at the back of my head which always said that, this isn't the right life to lead. Somebody wise once said that, if you're not sure what direction to go in your life, find a passion and build around it. My passion was to write. My passion was to meet people. Even at that time when I was involved in gangs, I never told them, but I was at home sneakily writing stories, my own imaginary little stories, and pretending that I was on TV, that I was something different, because I knew I was going to be something different one day. That wasn't the life that I was going to lead. There was always a constant war going on, like who's the leader of the pack, and who's the leader of that area, and who's the leader of that area. And it was a matter of getting your star, getting your badge, saying I own that area kind of thing now. But the day I realised that world was just a pathetic world to live in, that's the day when I turned and I said to myself, I do not like this environment. The main thing I asked myself is, what will be the conclusion? That's what I asked myself. The thoughts that came back to me on my head were dreadful. I'm either going to get stabbed, I'm even going to end up in prison, I'm even going to end up going through the juvenile system, or going to prison eventually. All these things came to my head, and when that happened, I thought, nah, I need to get out of this. I've done so many talks on anti-knife crime. One question I do get asked a lot from people who are involved in any sort of knife crime environment is, how do I get out of it? So I say to these guys, I say to them, well, why do you want to get out of this gang? They say, well, because it's, it's dangerous. And, from what you're told us, our conclusion would not be a nice one. And I say these magic words to me, exactly the same as I did, walk away. We are on this planet to make the difference. And we're just wasting, especially as a child, if you're wasting your life, mixing around people like that, walk away, just walk away.
If my friend was carrying a knife, I'd tell him it's stupid. I'll tell him, you're going to waste your life if you carry a knife.
If one person carries a knife, then someone else would feel like they need to carry a knife to protect themselves.
I know people specifically that have got kicked out of schools for having knives with them. It's not something that I would do at all, or imagine anyone else to ever do, so it's kind of like a shock to think that one of my friends might have.
I've had, a friend that wasn't in a gang, but he was, threatened by them. He had friends that were, and it's sort of hard to get out of that sort of ring of people.
Do you know of any agencies or any support that young people will be able to go to if they are being affected by knife crime?
I don't know of any, no. I think just like maybe contact the police.
But for me, don't really ever see like you know how you have advertisements for charities and different. I've actually never seen one recently for knife crime, so maybe that's something that needs to be looked at.
I think a lot of the time it's just out of fear, like if someone else is carrying a knife, then I need to carry.
Either for self-defense or they just bring it around because they think it's cool.
So when you have kids that get kicked out of school and then they have to go to like behaviour schools and stuff like that, they tend to go to ones out of their own area, which is another main reason for people our generation to carry knives, because they're coming out of their own comfort zone into a zone where they don't know anyone.
Fear and like they want respect.
If they were carrying a knife, they'd probably go to prison.
Jail time.
Getting arrested.
You're initially going to take someone's life, and I don't think they realise that.
I've been a police officer for 12 and a half years. It was actually my brother that encouraged me to force. He's a police officer as well. And he was always coming home telling me about the people he'd helped. I wanted to help people and make a difference. It was when I come into this role in the partnerships team as a young person's officer. It was where I was seeing more young people coming through the system for possession of offensive weapons or being involved in knife crime. It made me feel that something's going wrong somewhere. A lot of people are now on social media, and it's 24/7 opportunity for people to taunt one another. Open spaces at the parks, even outside of schools, like some of the schools have had incidences with knife crime outside of school. And if you imagine how many thousands of pupils are coming out of a secondary school, and people are still carrying or using knives in that public arena where there's thousands of witnesses. There's more sense of a gang culture now, and it's deemed cool. When I was at school, it was cool to smoke. I think now it's sort of becoming cool to carry a weapon. I think a lot of them probably think I'll carry it, but I'm never going to use it. But then once you're in a situation, or if you're approached and you're put into danger, the opportunity is there. It's there to use, and it's the fight or flight. If the weapon wasn't accessible in the first place, you could have escaped that situation. Maybe getting hurt, fighting with your fists, I don't know, whichever way, but something that won't have the huge consequences that using a weapon will have. I don't think they realise the impact it has on friends, family, not only of the victim, but also of the person carrying the knife. If you're going to prison for carrying your knife, what effects that having on your parents, on your siblings, on your friends? I strongly advise anyone not to carry a knife. Obviously, the ramifications of merely carrying it show in a person's manner. Using a knife is something the perpetrator carries around for the rest of their life.
When I was in school, there was a lot of police officers coming into schools to talk about it. So as a community, it was good for us to hear that and to hear stories of what they've seen.
I think they're trying, but I don't think there's enough police to do that.
You don't see police walking around or like being like a threat to people that actually are carrying knives.
Like when knife crime rose in London last year, I think they were doing random checks and stuff, so that's good.
I've come across pages on social media where it's like people like put knives on for sale, and it's all these, they make them look really fancy and really like expensive, and then you see them in like music videos and stuff, and it's almost seen as like a luxury item now, and I think social media definitely glorifies that sort of lifestyle.
There's like a lot of pictures of knife crime that I see, and like when I'm scrolling through them, it makes me sad because I don't want to see anyone in pain.
They're seeing younger rappers become rich, famous overnight, and a lot of the stuff they're rapping about is things they did, which may be carrying a knife, carrying some sort of weapon, robberies, and they're like, oh, I want to be rich and famous. I want to follow that.
Yeah, I think so. Not like if you go about it the right way, because if you do it too intensely, then it's scary.
There's a scene in Blue Story at the end where the guy whose best mate got killed, he goes around to schools and speaks about like why you shouldn't be in gangs and stuff like that. And I think that's like the best way to make things sink in, is by someone actually telling them how it mentally can affect you.
There used to be these organisations that help them, and they should talk to them.
They need to look into how it actually starts, and like how it affects other people more than just your career.
The police are there to protect you. You don't need to carry a knife.
If you're in a bad area, it's still not the right thing to do. If you don't feel safe, then don't go outside or talk to someone about it and see if they can help.
If you get caught with that out in public, you'll more than certainly be arrested, and it'll be put on your record. It'll affect your career, it'll affect your relationships with people because they won't trust you anymore.
My advice for you carrying a knife is stop. But my advice for a person who's trying to get out is to just keep on going. Don't let other people talk you out of it. Just try and get out as best as you can and carry on with your life.